David Shelby Berry.
Lost mine.
Joseph John Berry. William Lee
Afghanistan and Iraq.
Janina Betru.
Never goes away.
D. Betterly.
Carolyn Mayer Bugh. Edward Frank B.A.
You don't know that, Mom. You're still kicking. He's 90.
You and I, you and I will be here. You and I will be here next week.
As long as I
Right.
have a lot of vote, I'll pray about it.
D.
God bless you.
Equalizer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless you, Joe.
Bill Phelps.
90 years old.
William
I don't believe it.
Governor
My wife.
Italian.
Oh, she got that Italian blood. You see how young? Look, I may be Irish, but I'm not stupid. I married Dominic Giacoppa's daughter. I told you he was smart.
The difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden can be summed up in this moment. And that's because the interaction between Joe Biden and this 90-year-old woman who lost her son wasn't meant for the cameras. In fact, it was such an intimate moment that I couldn't even make out what they were saying to each other for a good deal of it, and that's the point. Joe Biden's empathy isn't a performance. It's not intended for ratings. It isn't part of some coordinated campaign strategy. It's who he is. Meanwhile, everything that Trump does is calculated for his re-election. And beyond that, beyond the inauthenticity of his actions that are solely designed to achieve one outcome, they're not even effective. Think about what we've seen Trump do to help his re-election. We saw him extort a foreign country for dirt against Joe Biden, and then he orchestrated a cover-up operation designed to protect himself, and both of those got him impeached. And yet that's how far he was willing to go to retain his grip on power. And yet still he didn't learn his lesson, because immediately thereafter, within days of his impeachment trial ending, Trump was made well aware of the dangers of the impending pandemic, but because he wanted to protect the stock market and the economy and in turn his own re-election chances, he opted to purposefully play it down and lie to the American people.
And so what was President Xi saying yesterday?
Well, we were talking mostly about the virus, and I think he's going to have it in good shape, but, you know, it's a very tricky situation.
Indeed
It goes through air, Bob. That's always tougher than the touch. You know, the touch, you don't have to touch things, right? But the air, you just breathe the air, and that's how it's passed. And so that's a very tricky one. That's a very delicate one. It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus. You know, people don't realize we lose 25,000, 30,000 people a year here. Who would ever think that, right?
I know. It's
it's pretty amazing. And then I say, well, is that the same thing? This is more deadly. This is 5 per... You know, this is 5% versus 1% and less than 1%. You know, so this is deadly stuff. Now it's turning out it's not just old people, Bob. Just today and yesterday, some startling facts came out. It's not just older.
Yeah, exactly.
Young people, to plenty of young people.
So
what's going on
give me a moment of talking to somebody, going through this with Fauci or somebody who kind of it caused a pivot in your mind, because it's clear just from what's on the public record that you went through a pivot on this to, oh my God, the gravity is almost inexplicable and unexplainable.
Well, I think, Bob, really, to be honest with you...
Sure, I want you to
I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down.
Yes,
because I don't want to create a panic.
And because of that, look at the situation we're in. We're coming up on 200,000 dead Americans. We have 8.5% unemployment, 11 million jobs lost. All because the person who had the unique ability to help contain the virus withheld vital information and instead made it exponentially worse, all in service of helping himself. And I truly don't know which is worse with Trump, him making it all about himself or his piss-poor judgment while doing so. And look, I'm not so naive to think that having empathy is the lone qualification to be president, but in a situation where 1,000 Americans are dying by the day, look how dangerous having someone with zero empathy as president is. It's not that Trump is just cold, he's incapable of acknowledging the pain that any single person in this country is going through. That's why he was always pushing for businesses to reopen. That's why he was always pushing for schools to reopen. That's why he was always pushing for stay-at-home orders to be lifted, even as the death count skyrocketed, because there are no number of deaths that would ever have an impact on him. Not 200,000, not 2 million. He will always just move the goalpost back no matter how bad it gets. The appearance of normality is what he's selling, and he'll never stray from his course. He's a branding guy, and he's already decided that he's branding everything as being totally fine, and nothing will make him change. So the simple fact is this: as long as Donald Trump is in office, this virus will never be contained, period. So if you want your family and friends and neighbors and doctors and nurses and cashiers and clerks to live in a country that values their lives, you should elect a person who actually cares about their lives first. While you're here, please subscribe to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, where I take a deeper dive into the week's biggest stories and interview major players in the world of politics, like Kamala Harris, Adam Schiff, Katie Porter, Nancy Pelosi, Cory Booker, Eric Swalwell, and many more. Again, that's No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, available anywhere you listen to podcasts.